to talk about our module of the week. Let's turn it over to Martin Anderson Klutz, a senior solutions engineer at Acquia and a maintainer of a number of modules of his own. Martin, what do you have for us this week?
Thanks, John. Have you ever wanted to have a field on user profiles specifically designed for Drupal.org usernames? There's a module for that. It's called Drupal.org username field, and it was created in August of 2019 by Hussein Webb, aka Hussein Abbas of Accelerant. It does have a 2.0.0 beta 4 release available, and it is actively maintained. In fact, that release was made less than 6 months ago. Also has test coverage and 8 open issues, none of which are bugs. And it is officially shown on Drupal.org as being in use by one site. Now, the module provides a new field type along with its own widget and formatter. There's a simple checkbox you can use to get the module to validate that a provided username is registered on Drupal.org. But what's really powerful about this module is they can also pull other information from the Drupal.org profile, such as first and last name, country, bio, and more. It does this by leveraging a Guzzle-based API client for Drupal.org that Hussein created as part of a DrupalCon Asia developer contest. Now, I believe the intended use of the module is to use a provided drush command to copy the values from the Drupal.org username field into other fields where they would be displayed to site visitors. Although this module isn't something that a lot of sites will need, I could see it being really useful for DrupalCamp websites to automatically collect a lot of the information that many such sites ask users to populate manually. I think it's also an interesting use of the Drupal.org API and could be a useful reference for anyone needing to implement a custom integration. So let's talk about Drupal.org username field.
So I'm going to ask a silly question. Do you think the one site that's using it is actually Drupal.org? Is there like an inception thing going on here?
Yes, we've got layers upon layers of usernames. No, I think it's really cool. I think it's super relevant to what we're going to be talking about today, actually, because when we start talking about the SSO benefits of the project we're doing on D.O, one of them is, in fact, related to letting community sites better use people's D.O identity. It seems like a very logical thing to help pre-populate that information. So that's really cool. I didn't know that existed. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I don't think it's on Drupal.org yet either, because this module is for Drupal 10, and I think Drupal.org it must be getting pretty close to getting ready. But it's not on Drupal 10 yet.
Gloves came off early today. No.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it that way.
Jeez.
I just meant
guys just throwing punches right out of the gate.
No, it's really true though. Yeah, no, it is quite coming along, and actually, there's this D7 D10 question is another part of why this SSO project is happening. So we'll get there, but no, I think that module would be super useful. I'd actually be really curious to see if some other camp websites, members of the events organizer working group, maybe who are working on a generic events platform that camps can use, maybe should give this a little try and see if it'll serve their needs for that.
Interesting you say that, Tim, because I was going to actually pivot to Martin and go, Martin, is this going to end up in the events platform, code base soon?
Well, I mean, to be honest, that's exactly why I took interest in this originally. I think the sort of hesitation that I have is because by design, we want the event platform to be a little bit more generic and not sort of opinionated, that it's really just for Drupal events. And so to have this in there for sites that aren't Drupal based is, maybe going to potentially create some confusion. So I almost feel like it should be the top of the list of like recommended modules for Drupal camps or something like that.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I would say add it as a sub possibility, and then you can build a WordPress username plugin and a Sitecore username plugin and all sorts of modules for other event types and whatnot.
I don't know, Martin, if you know this, if that team, like, I follow the event organizer working group meetings periodically, but is that platform ultimately going to be built with a sort of recipe style, that new sort of initiative configuration, because then I think it could use that either that system to extend it further for certain use cases, and you could have kind of a sub recipe to add the Drupal specific stuff, or possibly eventually publish in the project browser project when that happens, additional, like an additional package. So you could have your events platform recipe and then a Drupal event platform recipe.
So there hasn't been, I would say, official discussion about moving it to recipes, but the sort of the way that the event platform was built was very recipe-like. There's probably a few pieces that will have to be spun out into standalone modules, because there is definitely some code in there to provide a few interfaces to make specific things easier. But I would say in general, yes, that's probably going to be fairly high on the list of priorities. I'm not sure if this year, but certainly next year, to get all of that moved over. There's actually a couple of modules that I got a couple of the folks from Canopy's help with getting moved into recipes in the last couple of weeks that are sort of smart date adjacent modules, but again, very similar in the sense of really being a set of configuration that gets imported. And the process overall didn't seem to take a lot of work. So certainly for projects like the event platform that are largely a set of configuration to use as a starting point, moving those into recipes looks like it's going to be a fairly simple process.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens when recipes become sort of mainstream. I mean, they're obviously the whole concept of them is still in development, and so it's like it's a little cart before the horse maybe, but I think it'll be really interesting once that's available to have distribution-like functionality without this like lock-in and in terms of update path and what you can combine and all that stuff. So,
especially if we can start providing single directory components to go along with this, so you can kind of mix and match how things look. I think that the future is bright. Going back to this module, I just wanted to mention too, I think it might be useful for the Talking Drupal site when we finally get off of Drupal 7.
Oh my God,
and
yes.
onto Drupal 10 too, because it only took us until about 100 episodes ago, but we finally started gathering Drupal.org information from all of our guests. So it'd be nice to just have a way to validate that and link directly to their profile.
Yeah,
that absolutely is a fabulous idea, Nick. We should work on that. Well, Martin, as always, a very appropriate module of the week. Thank you for sharing with us. If folks wanted to get a hold of you or suggest a module of the week, how could they go about doing that?
We are always happy to get nominations for Module of the Week in the Talking Drupal channel of Drupal Slack. And folks can also reach out to me directly on all the Drupal or social channels as Mandclue.